Alrighty, we'll go ahead and get started. As I mentioned before, this call is recorded, but welcome all of our amazing mentors to our final mentor call with Betty. We're super excited. I'm really excited. I've known Betty for a few months now, as I've gone through the seasons with people that she's mentored and just everything like that. And she's just an incredible mentor, and we're super excited to have her on this call. She'll share with us just how to mentor through the end of the season and even after the end of the season, how important it is to continue mentoring. And then we'll be opening it up and just kind of having conversations as well. So like things that are working for you guys, things that are working for her. Feel free to ask your questions and just have a conversation, because that's kind of like the biggest thing that we love about these calls is that we can really pick the brains of these top mentors that have just been doing so amazing and so great. And we're super excited to have Betty on there. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and give it to Betty. We'll probably go around 3:50 when we want to end the call. So Betty, if you want to take however long you'd like to take to kind of talk about things that you want to talk about, and then we can open it up for Q&A, and then we'll end the call by 3:50. So we'll go ahead and give it over to our top mentor and Presidential Diamond, Betty Torres.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca and Christina. And like she said, my name is Betty Torres. I've been with doTERRA for over 12 years, almost 12 and a half years. I absolutely love it. I have a big background because I'm older. I'm 66. So, I have quite a background of different things that have, occurred in my life. And I really, truly believe that frame of reference allows me to, mentor a lot of people and kind of empathize, even though it's really funny because when you look at the strengths, empathy is like one of my lowest things. And I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Empathy is like one of my lowest things. But apparently, according to Eddie V, it's like, your other strengths kind of take up for that. But anyway, the frame of reference, I believe, just really helps you relate to a lot of people. And I believe that it's super, super important to have a connection with each and every one of the people that we are mentoring. And so I like to, tell them my background. I actually, came from Cuba when I was a little kid. I was 5 years old. So my family was Cuban refugees. And so I had the privilege of watching that whole journey and being a part of it and seeing what it takes, to come to a country where you don't speak the language and you have nothing, because we were not able to come with anything because we thought we were going right back. And I saw them, struggle, and I saw them rise out of that. And that was just the greatest lesson of all. Personally, I didn't speak English and I had to start school. And that was kind of a challenge. I knew one word, and that was potato. I don't know how come that's the word that I knew, but everybody that I met, I just went up to them and said potato. And so that was kind of an interesting time in my life, but I think it helped me develop some strategies. Because I was, kind of behind all the way through school. And I was just, my prayer was, please, please, please let me pass to the next grade. And I had, back in the day in Texas, there was no kindergarten. I was, 5 years old, and I didn't speak the language, and they didn't understand, what you have to go through. There was no special help of what you have to go through and what it can do to your self-confidence, everything else. So I, managed to overcome that. And I just wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher. So I, knew I had to go to college. And so I got through high school, and then I went to college. And that's when I started to really excel, when I had more confidence in myself. And because it took years and years to catch up. So I taught for 15 years. I taught high school for a couple of years. I taught college for 13 years. I taught business, and I taught business during a time that, you guys, computers were just coming in. It was back in the early 80s. And so those of us who were teaching computers, because business was all computers all of a sudden, those of us who were teaching computers, we were learning the night before what we were going to be teaching the next day. And it was really something else. And, then I, wanted to have a family. And it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so I went back to school, got another master's degree so I could teach something that would never change. And that was Spanish, which by that time I had almost lost. So anyway, I went back to the same community college where I was teaching and finished out my career as a Spanish teacher. And I figured out that it was not what I was teaching. It was the fact that it was really hard to balance work and life and, set my priorities to be my children. I mean, I that was the day where they had like, I don't know if you guys remember this commercial that they had. I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in the pan. Is that really a good thing? You know, and the woman's wearing a business suit and, you know, like this power woman with the frying pan. And, you know, like, you know, since then there have been a lot of things studied. And I think it was a Vanity Fair, you know, article that brought out this study about the emotional labor that women carry in their families. And so you've got the, you know, that whole idea that you want to have that equal career, but somehow for most families, it's still the women that are going to carry a lot of it. And so you're seeing women having the same discussions, same conversations that were being had in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s right now. So I just couldn't do it anymore with the teaching. So I, you know, was losing my health. I had gained a lot of weight. I had very bad anxiety to the point where I thought I was having strokes and heart attacks and just terrible. I just couldn't handle the pressure of all of it. And the guilt was incredible. So along the way, seeking out health options, I ran into network marketing and direct sales. And that was I think it was 27 years ago. So I am a career network marketer, and I'm so proud of it. Like, that is my career. And I focused on wellness. So I'm also a career, you know, wellness learner, basically, and teacher. And so that's been the last 27 years. And I, you know, had an up and down road along the way. And it was 12 and a half years ago that a friend of mine who has 9 kids and has had a ton of health issues called me about doTERRA. And I said, I'm not going to build another one. I mean, I had already lost my house. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit card debt. It was just a dismal situation. And I was 54 at the time. And I'm like, I need to like get a real job and have some real medical insurance and some real retirement at some point. And she called me about doTERRA. And so I got started just for the products, which is so cool. I got started because I wanted that lifelong vitality pack. And digestion had been a real issue in our family, and probably because of the Cuban diet and the American diet and all of that combined in our genetic. And we'd had, all of us in the family had just horrible digestive issues. And so I got started with those products. And that's how then, as I saw what the products were doing for me, as I saw that doTERRA was different, as I saw, thank God I met Justin the very first day I got my product. My friend sent me to a class. It was an event in Minnesota, and it was, you know, like less than 10 people. And Justin was there, and he was the master distributor talking about everything but the business. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, what's going on here? And so then I could tell that it was different then. And then it was just the next few months, it was kind of like, wow, my brain was like scrambled up. And within, you know, 3, 4, 5 months, I was building, but I just couldn't trust. And so I flew to Utah to meet the owners. And once you meet the owners, that's why people need to get to events, right? They need to get to leadership. They need to get to convention. But I met with the owners, and I had a couple of other ladies who were on my team. We were all down and out. And that's something that almost all the women that I started with, actually, all of them were like around my age, and all of them had lost their homes, you know, maybe been through divorces. You know, they were like down and out. And so, you know, we were all in it together, and it was like this great hope that we could trust these people. And we flew out there, and we met with all the owners, and they were so generous with their time. And I remember we met in that little conference room of the rented facility that they had. Customer service was in the back of a gas station. And so we met with them, and it was like, wow. And we left there. And when I look at the people in that room, it was, you know, myself, I became presidential, and then Dr. Lori Langford became a Blue Diamond, and then Rosalie Elliott became a Blue Diamond. Like, our belief was so strong that it could not be shaken. So that is what we need to, you know, like, give to our people to support them. It's why we need to keep telling our story, so that they know the story never gets old. It never gets old. And your why, I mean, my why, to put the family as the first priority, to help my girlfriends who also had gone through devastations in their life, to help them get to a point where they also had control in their lives again. And then ultimately, it just led me to the path of thinking, gosh, what if one day my daughters could follow in my footsteps? What if one day my daughters didn't have to make the decisions that I had to make, to put my job first and feel guilty? What if my daughters can make the decisions that they want to make, still produce, still have an income, and also like put their families first? And so I'll tell you, dreams are big because my dreams have come true. Like all of my dreams and beyond have come true. And of course, we keep dreaming, of course, because there are always, more people, but our living example is like huge for them. Okay, so Diamond Club, the people that I mentor, some of them come to me and ask me to mentor them. If someone comes and asks me to mentor them, I am going to go to their upline and make 100% sure that they, that they're okay with me mentoring them, that I'm not stepping on their toes. If they want to be the mentor, that is fantastic. Some people I actively recruit to participate in Diamond Club. What I am looking for are people that are a part of the community, that what you invest in them, they are going to invest back. They are going to pay it forward. I'm not just investing in someone who is going to keep it, for themselves, that they have like the wider view of, everybody being in it together, and, the importance of us being able to leverage into each other's efforts. Okay, so once that's decided who I'm going to mentor, then what we do before Diamond Club starts is that we have a strategy session that usually lasts about an hour and a half. And during that strategy session, we go into their organization and we look at their structure. They tell me who the people are in the structure, who the players are. And I have that all written down, and I have it basically in front of me during the whole Diamond Club, so that I know, so I'm in touch with what's going on in their organizations, who's really in it with them, who do they have to maybe carry along because they already have so much invested, who is going to ultimately be the qualifier and replace that person, all of that. I have a good handle on that. I also, we look at, their volume, what their volume goal is by the end of Diamond Club, what their, growth goal is, it might be in terms of enrollments, what their rank goal would be. And then also it's super, super important to try to get everybody to that 1,500 power of 3. Now, that can be a little bit challenging if you have someone that you thought was going to be a part of, actively building, and they aren't. And then you have somebody that is 2 or 3 levels down who is the active builder. You have to make some hard decisions. You have to, make a decision whether you invest in the person that's the builder, or whether you go up and then, like build it out so that you can get your 3x3, your power of 3, 1,500. It just depends on how far away you are from it. But that 1,500, that makes such a huge difference. And in a lot of cases, we're talking women and guys want to see the money. That's all there is to it. I mean, was my experience, and that's the experience I'm seeing with my daughters. That's the experience that I'm seeing with the women that I work with. Their husbands want to see the money. Okay, so I like it if they put the husband on the phone with me or in a Zoom, so we can talk about the potential, and that, like Justin says, it's not get rich quick, it is get rich slow. But if you build it right, it's going to be built forever. It's if you build it on a solid and stable foundation, and you don't get crazy, and you don't get crazy about getting to your end goal and skip steps along the way. What you build is going to stay built, and that's the key. So that's really what I counsel, because I know that I did it, being in network marketing for almost 27 years, I did it the right way and I did it the wrong way. And so I can pull from that experience. And with doTERRA, I'm like, nope, this one I'm going to build it one time. This is going to be forever. I'm not going to cut any corners. I'm not going to get crazy to go to the next rank until I am solidly at the previous rank. So that's the advice that I like to give. And, I'm basically just a facilitator of their learning. Everybody's on their own journey. Okay. So something that, and sometimes they take my advice and sometimes they don't. And sometimes they know what my perspective is. And so they don't ask me, like maybe if they want to spend $10,000 on a coaching program, that maybe they should have mentioned it to me. And I could then, help them look at the pros and cons. When they've made up their mind, they just sometimes go. But hey, you know what? It's like our children. Sometimes our kids need to make, they need to make their own mistakes. I made probably every mistake you could make in network marketing on the way here. And I'm pretty darn sure that I needed to make those myself, in order to really understand them. But and then some people really value your experience and say, you know what, and I did tell it to, I told that to my daughters. I said, okay, you guys, here are the mistakes that I made in my life. I'm telling you what my mistakes were, a lot of them. And so now you don't have to make them because you already have that knowledge now. So you can just like start from the point where I'm leaving off. And they're like, Mom, they just thought it was ridiculous that I said that. But you know what? You give your experience and some listen and some won't. And that's the way it is with everything. But here's something that as a teacher, and it's kind of like a little bit, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting thing. As a teacher, we knew who the A students were going to be. And the A students were going to be the A students no matter what, because they were going to do whatever they needed to do to get an A. They were going to figure it out. And what we have with Diamond Club is we have a whole bunch of A students that are going to figure it out and they're going to do it, right? And so what we do, we're not doing it for them or anything like that. We are there for them to support them in however we can support them. It's important for us to know what their strengths are. It's important for us to have that hour and a half strategy session. I can ask some very, very pointed questions because I can remove the emotion out. I don't have maybe the emotional connection to some of the people that they've placed in key positions. So I can ask some hard questions and help them look at, maybe, like reevaluate some of those decisions that they've made and maybe refocus their attention for mutual benefit instead of, like trying to, like putting in your parent and building it for them. That is going to cost you. That is going to cost you. Putting in your child and building it for them will cost you because you are not just supporting 4 legs to get to diamond or 5 legs to get to blue or 6 legs to get to presidential. You are supporting your legs plus theirs. Okay, so it's better to, to like do it in a very, very solid way. Okay, so I want my people to know what my strengths are, and then I know what their strengths are. And I think that that is super, super important. My number 1 is strategic. Number 2 is includer. Okay, number 3 is achiever. Number 4 is self-assurance, and number 5 is learner. And so we look at our strengths, and it's really, it's really interesting. Like some of the people that have strategic as their top strength, there are a lot of corners that we can cut in the understanding of each other. But somebody who has, maybe woo in their top strength, it might be a little different. Like my daughter has woo as one of her top 5. And she's like, Mom, you need to soften that. You just need to soften that approach. You just need to she's always like telling me that, I need to be a little bit softer sometimes when I say things. And that's just, the difference in, and I understand, and she understands because we know each other's strengths. Okay. So, the strategy session. Okay. Let me see. I wrote down some notes here. Okay. I like to caution people. Well, first of all, let me go back. Qualifier Zooms, they're qualifiers. We want to get their qualifiers on board. Okay. With the whole Diamond Club thing. We don't want them to think that they're doing it for the Diamond Club person. It is a win-win situation. It's mutually beneficial, and they need to understand that. Okay. And some Diamond Club participants, are asking people to help them, but I just believe that the approach needs to be, we're in this together. This is mutually beneficial. How can I serve you? And to kind of get them on board, in that way. So if you aren't able to reflect as a participant what's in it for them effectively, that can come back and bite. And I did have that with I've gone through everything with Diamond Club and Diamond Club participants, but I did have somebody who I spoke with recently, and she's like, oh my gosh, we just dread it when our upline does Diamond Club. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it is such a great thing. She can offer so many, great deals and all of that and offering to teach. And they're like, no, we just dread it because this person wants a certain number of enrollments. And so it's almost like they feel like they're doing it for her. So we need to change that paradigm. It's a total win-win, mutually beneficial. And so sometimes what we'll do is I'll say, let's get a Zoom going and let's have like your qualifiers on there and let's talk about what this Diamond Club is going to look like and how everyone is going to benefit. And so I get to know their qualifiers and we lay that out. And that has been effective, with the people who want to do that. And again, some of the people that don't, it's because maybe their people aren't, fully in it. We might just do it with one. We might, just have one person who is a very, very active builder and then, figure out how we can serve, that person. I caution people about getting too competitive with Diamond Club. That can really, really come back and bite. I've had people that when they saw the prizes, they didn't focus on the legs they needed to focus on, which, the legs that you need to focus on sometimes are the legs where you're like in the trenches. Okay. It's might not be as much fun as walking into a packed room with a whole bunch of guests that would have been there anyway, even if you weren't doing Diamond Club. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to, look at where you need to work, and the leaders that you want to develop, look there, and then everybody else can plug into what you're doing for them, but you're structuring it around those legs that are going to help you attain their goals, and you're going to be able to help them attain their goals. And that is more painful than walking into a packed room with a whole bunch of guests, that are adoring you and everything else. That event would have happened whether you were there or not. Okay, so then throughout the Diamond Club, I have accountability groups. This time I am mentoring 10 people. One was not able to continue because of all kinds of, things in her family. And normally I'd be, come on, let's go, let's do this. But it was, it was like very clear it was going to be too much and push her over the edge. So she's in it for the long term, whatever that's called, the long term. And I have two groups, 5 and 4, and we have accountability groups. We have a texting group, and it's the kind of thing that if anybody finds out about something cool taking place, or here comes a Diamond Club, call, or here comes a leadership call, everybody lets everybody else know pretty much. And then if anybody's being vulnerable, it's the end of the month and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to get my enrollments. I mean, you've got people right there and you see it saying, call me right now. And you see people supporting each other and building relationships. So we do a Zoom in the beginning, just before or the first week of Diamond Club. I like just before, but where you're talking, everybody's introducing themselves, and I very strategically put them in the groups if I have more than one group that's going. And I learned that from, teaching. There are some people that are just masterful up at the University of Minnesota, and they studied cooperative learning and structuring groups to where if you structure the groups in I'm going to say in an advantageous way for everybody, the top people are going to bring everybody else up. You're never going to have the other thing happening. And so I strategically, this time that I had the two groups, placed them in the groups. And then we did the Zoom where everybody got to know each other and they talked about their goals. And this was after we'd already done the individual strategy sessions. And then almost daily, we are communicating via text about different things and letting each other know. And we're like, everybody's like invested in each other's success. And then, then we do another Zoom the next month. So, it's like daily accountability, daily sharing, daily leveraging, and people can be vulnerable. There's no judgment. There's no negativity, none of that. And then we, just keep doing that every day. And then we, have another accountability Zoom after the first month, and then the second, third, and subsequent months. So that's something that we have ongoing. And I believe that's been very, very helpful for them. And any opportunity that you have to meet with a group, like at leadership, there was an accountability group that we were able to get together the last night of leadership, and we had a blast. I mean, we were together for hours and just sat and just had fun and talked and shared. And it was wonderful. Okay, so offering mentor sessions in 3 ways with new builders. 3 ways, I mean, my gosh, 3-way calls. I don't know that they're used enough in doTERRA. In my previous companies, three-way calls were magic. And when I came to doTERRA, I was like, oh my gosh, I have Lil Shepherd as an upline. Lil Shepherd is amazing. Like Lil Shepherd has been here since the very beginning. And what is so cool about Lil Shepherd is that she keeps everything so simple, so duplicatable. She's not intimidating. She's, it's like, you just feel like, wow, if Lil can do this and says I can do this, I trust her. It's like instant trust with her. So I said, Lil, okay, will you do some three-way calls with me? And she was like, oh, she had never done a three-way call. And so she figured out what a three-way call was. And then she got on and she would introduce and three-way call, the person who puts you on the three-way call with the prospect does not say anything. They introduce to the upline and then they don't say a word. And so I did that with her and she was so amazing. She was like, my name is Lil Shepherd and I live in Utah. And she said, and my credentials are MOM, mom. She would say that. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, because these people that had come out of network marketing companies and they were maybe so like jaded, they'd never seen anything like that, like an honest to goodness, real, authentic company, that was about all the right things. And so Lil was able to instill that in, these people early on so that we had that belief before we actually, got to Utah. I met the owners. So the power of the three-way calls. One of my participants this month has somebody who's just amazing, who has been in doTERRA for 7 years, kind of lost she likes the honeymoon, but she kind of lost her sizzle. And then MetaPower came and she kind of started to regain it a little bit. And my daughter, I just gave away who the participant is. It's my daughter. She said, Mom, I'm going to go to Minnesota and I'm going to drive to go and see this person because I just have a feeling about her. And Alicia was very hesitant to do Diamond Club in the beginning because she was like, she had a total of 5 enrollments, team enrollments in January. She's like, how in the world am I going to do Diamond Club if I only had 5 enrollments in January? And I said, just like close your eyes and jump and just go, just do it. She set the intention. She scheduled a trip to Minnesota. She booked appointments with people that were not building anymore, including this person who was a 6-hour drive. She said, the woman said, oh, I don't want to have a class or anything. And Alicia's like, that's okay. I'm going to come over and have lunch with you. 6 hours there, 6 hours back to go have lunch. Well, by the time that Alicia got there, the woman's whole mindset had shifted and she decided she wanted to start building. She enrolled 20 people her first month. 20 people her first month, all 20 on LRP. So we're like, wow, this is amazing. But like, I know her MO and she loves the honeymoon period. And I'm like, okay, so, like we're ready to advise her the next. We don't want to burst her bubble as far as what her goal is. She's like, my goal is to beat my first month. So then the second month, she said, I'm going to enroll like 21 people. So the second month, she enrolls 20 people. So she matches her goal and they're all on LRP. It's like amazing. So then, like you can only keep that up for so long. Okay. There's no online anything, there's no vendor event. There's, these are just people she knows. So the third month, she's a few days into it. And she's like 3 days into it. She said, oh my gosh, I've only enrolled 4 people this month, she says. And so, then I'm like, okay, I can hear this in her voice, that the honeymoon does not last forever. And so I could hear it in her voice. And I, basically just said, how about if we kind of tweak your goal? How about if we make it 20 team enrollments? Like your ratio, maybe you do 10 and then other people do another 10 on your team, which already was on the way because she had one that had enrolled 4 and one that enrolled 3. So she's like the previous month, which is like amazing. So then she tweaked and she's like, oh, I get this. And it's like, yeah, let's look at the ratio of how many you enroll as opposed to how many your team enrolls. And that right now might be 75-25. It might be 50-50. But the key is you want this to duplicate. Okay. You don't want to be the one enrolling all the time. Okay. So, you always want to be enrolling, but you don't need to keep up those numbers and put that kind of pressure on yourself because it's more important for your team to start to grow. And, I learned this in my very first network marketing company. It's not about the person you're talking to necessarily and that you've just enrolled. It's about the people they know. And so get to their people fast. Okay. Get to their people fast, because if they have people that are doing it with them, especially something like MetaPower or healthy living, their chance of success is greatly increased. I think if you have like a buddy, I think Fitbit did these studies that it was like, if you have one buddy, it's like 65% increase in retention. And if you have like two buddies and it's three of you, it like goes into the 80s and 90%. So, like to kind of lock them into success, lead into their people, quickly. And it's gotten even easier to do that with refer a friend. So I like to have people look at that ratio. And there are people that I have that are doing Diamond Club 3rd, 4th, 5th time, and their ratio is still that they're enrolling all the 100%. So we need to look at things like, are you making it look too hard? Are you keeping it simple enough? Are people looking at you and saying, oh my gosh, I could never do what she's doing? Are you making it fun? Like that I am like a master at having fun. That is my ninja skill, is having fun. Like I love to have fun. I was just looking at some pictures of like, I don't know, 9 years ago after convention, I took a bunch of people, we rented a couple of Suburbans, we drove up into the mountains, and there was not one straight picture of myself. Like I was either eating something or going like this, like everybody else is acting normal except for me. And I'm like, it's because my goal in life is to have fun. And people are attracted to that fun. And my goal in life is to keep it really simple. I did not become a product expert. I became an expert at using the third-party resources. I am a master at using the third-party resources. I am a master at knowing where to point people to. I am not the expert. I don't want to be the expert. I probably, for many years knew less about essential oils than anybody on my team, because I eventually gained a lot of knowledge just because I was looking stuff up all the time with them. Oh, let's look it up together. I would make sure that everybody had a book, and then we'd look it up together. And then pretty soon they're like, man, every time I call her, all she does is just have me look it up. So I might as well just look it up. But then they duplicate that. And I think that it's getting it away from you, like the whole ego thing of having to be, the authority. I want to keep an eye on my time, having to be the authority. It's ego. So like, get the ego out of the way. It doesn't matter who gets the credit for something, right? Like I have like a little bit of a pet peeve, and I'm so sorry if this, I don't want to offend anybody, but I never named my team Betty's team. Like my Facebook group is not Betty's team or Torres team. Like, why would I do that? I want it. My team is named, like the Facebook group is Discover Essentials. Nobody really knows who the leaders are, or, like who the leader is of that team, because there are a whole bunch of us. It's like a collaborative thing. And so I wanted to make sure that people all the way up to, however high their rank, they could still feel like they could be a part of that group without it being stamped my team. I also, when there are rank advancements, this is another little pet peeve that I have, and I just feel like we need to kind of go above this. And again, that's just my perspective. But when somebody advances and you say, I have a new silver on my team. Here's my newest silver. I just feel like that's like, let's celebrate them. Let's not necessarily celebrate the fact that, hey, they're on my team and I need to stamp them as, hey, look at how great of a leader I am. So those are just little things that I try to help, that I think can make all the difference, that I try to support my people into growing into a level of leadership where they understand that it doesn't matter who gets the credit. It doesn't matter if they think somebody else is a better leader than you. It doesn't matter if they go to a training and they're like, oh my gosh, like that training was so great. And, you almost feel like, oh, well, wait a minute. Like I've been saying that for how many years? Here's something I learned in a previous company. So all that experience paid off for sure. You need to hear it 7 different times from 7 different people before it actually sinks in. So, they hear it from you over and over and over and over and over again. You're like their mom, whatever. And then they hear it from somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And then finally it kicks in and they're like, why didn't anybody tell me this before? It's like, well, we have been. We've been telling you for like 8 years, but it doesn't matter. Like, don't worry. If they think somebody else is a better leader, whatever. I mean, good. I'm glad people are leveraging into what other people are doing. And that's so, so, so important. I just caution people about buying into things, because there's so much that we have this for free, that's like right there, and that's collaborative. And so I do caution people. I know that there are some things that are, hugely valuable, but I really, 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 I think it can really like get people kind of a little bit off track. When people learn about events, about something that's coming up, like I think a lower level of leadership is you want to be the one to deliver the information to your team. So you keep it to yourself so that you can be the one, like giving that information. Like, it doesn't matter who gives the information first, just get your information out. When you learn about an event, get that information out to your people and promote it. Like, I'm, helping co-hosting an event in Austin, Texas, coming up this Thursday night. And there are so many leaders, like big leaders, that'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it that night. And it's like, what about your people? What about getting your people there? So we need to think beyond ourselves. And I think that is like a step in leadership. Okay, so that's a big thing, to promote it to your people, even if you're not going to be there. Maybe don't even say that you're not going to be there. So some important understandings that I want to help transition these people, because I look at this as Diamond Club is leadership development, is what it is. It's leadership development to help them understand the power of one. The fact that, according to the numbers that I, have been told by doTERRA, is 82% of the people in our organizations are customers. Okay, they are wholesale customers. 18% are sharers or builders. Okay, so maybe of that 18, okay, so look at 100 people, 82 are customers, 18 are sharers or builders. Really, like one is going to be a builder. If you look at your numbers, you're probably going to have one, maybe two are going to be the builders. Okay, so what if every single one of those 18 out of 100, let's just take out of 100, what if every single one of those 18 just enrolled one person a month? Would you rather have 18 people enrolling one a month or one person enrolling 18? Give me 18 enrolling one a month any day, any day. Okay, so just to understand that, and then to understand like what doTERRA has given us with Refer a Friend. Can you imagine now that 82% starts enrolling? Now they start enrolling because there's something in it for them. There's something in it for everybody. It's actually just like the most brilliant, beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire 27 years of network marketing. So it's doTERRA has outdone themselves. Another thing, and I may have said this a little bit already, are people leveraging into what's already taking place, or are they reinventing the wheel? I believe that holds a lot of people back. I just, they have to have their own Facebook group. It is no easy thing to have a successful Facebook group. I hire my daughters to run that group, to go through and approve posts, to make sure everything's the way it should be, to post events, all of that. So, I mean, I don't want to do all that. I did that all in the beginning for years until they, finally joined me. And then I'm like, hey, how would you guys like to make some extra money, running this for all of us? And so then, they started doing that. So what I try to tell leaders is like, just like use that, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you want to have like a separate little business group that's just your business builders, just don't duplicate anything that's already on Discover Essentials. Make them all go there. Make them go there for that news so that they can see the bigger picture. And that way, because a lot of leaders that maybe are silver or gold, they might take a hiatus, for whatever reason. That it is so hard when you are in momentum and the momentum stops or slows down. You don't just stay right there. You like go back, and then you got to rebuild that all over again. So get your people into the bigger picture, the people that are they're always going to be there. They're never going to take a hiatus. They're never going to stop. There's never going to be any of that. And we also highly encourage people to post their events. Because Discover Essentials has like 17,000 people, we need to really be very careful with compliance. So, we have events that people can post their submit, for approval to be posted. But the thing is that people can't share them. So we have a separate events group. So it's Discover Essentials events. and that is a public group that's only for events. So what's really cool about Facebook, and I believe it's still the best business platform out there, is that you can post on Discover Essentials events, you can post it as an event, and then when you share it to other groups, it automatically posts as an event. If any changes have to be made to that original event, then you make it in the public group and it's automatically made everywhere else that it's shared to, because some people recreate the event because, again, it's part of that, I want to be the authority, I want to be the one, rather than sharing from a group that, if there's a change that's made to the time or a correction to the Zoom link or whatever it might be, it's going to automatically be made if you share it. Okay, so it's all like a team collaborative effort. So very, very important for people to understand this. Okay, so Drew Wolfert, you guys, seriously, that presentation that he did at Leadership, he is like my new favorite speaker. It used to be Corey Lindley, because Corey Lindley gave like all the numbers and everything, and he still does, but he's like in a different role now. Drew is like the new Corey Lindley, where he gives like that chart that he showed about the compounding effect was unbelievable. And here is what I came out of there with, and something that I say to myself every single day, like many, many times. I say, thank you, doTERRA. Thank you, doTERRA, so many times a day. But here's something that just really sunk in after his presentation. Consistency over time has a compounding effect. Consistency over time has a compounding effect. Okay, so I think somebody was using the example of put $100 a month into your kid's college fund, and by the time they go to college, it's going to be like unbelievable. Like you're not going to see much for a while, just like Drew's chart, you're not going to see much, and then all of a sudden it goes up. And even if it goes back down, it's going to go back up, but even higher the next time. So that's the compounding effect of, talking to a new person every day, adding 2 names, talking to one, enrolling, a person a week or a person or 2 a month. Like if people understand, it's not about the big flash things. It's about consistency every single day. Consistency over time is the way that we are going to build solid businesses. And you know what? This applies to everything. This applies to MetaPower. I've lost 19 pounds. My cholesterol is down 51 points. My body fat is down 8 percentage points. My body age went from a 54 when I started to a 39, and I'm 66. I was already in great shape because I was already doing lifelong vitality and all that stuff, living the natural life, all of that. But I added MetaPower. Who would think that that would take me to the next level? But I have not missed 1 day of collagen. I have not missed 1 assist before my largest meal. I have not missed 1 day of taking the oil 3 times, whether it's the oil or the beetlets or whatever. It applies to everything in life. Consistency over time has a compounding effect. And then finally, the biggest, takeaway for people is like to enjoy the journey. Like I have to remind them, this is supposed to be fun, enjoy the journey. I think back to those early years, and really seriously, that was the most fun I've ever had in my life. When I had flown out to Boise, Idaho, when I didn't have any money, because, again, we'd lost the house, we had all the credit card debt, I didn't have any money. And then I flew out there, my cell phone had been cut off because the bill had not been paid. And I'm digging for money inside the, like my purse and my backpack and stuff. It was like, oh my gosh, how did I get to this place when I did so many things right? But those are the stories that we think back to. And those are the fun things. I think of traveling with Dr. Lori Langfit and, driving into this little town, Wilbur, Washington, diffusing basil out of her car. And we smelled like an Italian, place. And, going into a coffee shop and putting the Slim and Sassy in my mouth. And the woman said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm looking at your pastries. I don't want to eat any of them. I am putting this in my mouth so that I don't have those sugar cravings. And it also has a sculpting effect on my body." She's like, "Shut up." And then she took me into the back and introduced me to the owner and the owner's daughter. They all 3 showed up at the class we were teaching that night. And to make a long story short, the daughter of the owner is now a silver. So we pretty much signed up the whole town. over a matter of years. But we just think back to that story and other similar amazing stories of all the places. Like I think of somebody that lined me up with a guy who was a manager at a Denny's, who was a martial arts expert, who wanted me to have a class in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was at a Mexican clothing store. They'd cleared off the racks, and the display behind me was full of Twinkies and all kinds of really horrible food. And I start talking, and then the guy says, can you slow down a little bit? And can you enunciate really well? And can you look at the audience? And most of the audience was deaf. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like I think back to those stories, and I'm just like, wow, those were the times. That's what built, this whole amazing organization, this, amazing foundation, and this very, very high retention rate, and so many solid people and solid ranks. So 3 words: simplicity. Simplicity duplicates. Leverage is working smart. And then consistency. It has the compounding effect. So that's my goal, is to move these people that are in Diamond Club, to the next step of leadership, and looking at, the long term with all of it. And so that's all I have right now, Rebecca and Christina. And I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments or anything like that, but I would be very happy to chat.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Betty. There were so many amazing, wonderful, and just absolutely incredible insights that you gave us. And I think just all of those things and experiences that you have and that all of our mentors have is really what gets our leaders, our participants, especially in Diamond Club, from the I'm going to start and do Diamond Club just so I can help solidify my rank, to I am building my business, and I am building a solid foundation, and I'm doing all of these amazing things even long after Diamond Club. So I think that's absolutely incredible. I think we have time for maybe one question, 1 or 2 questions if anybody has one. I'll wait a minute, see if anybody does. If nobody can think of questions right now, it's totally fine. Feel free to email diamondclub@doterra.com, and any of us would be happy to. Me and Christine would be happy to pass along any questions that you have for Betty to Betty as well.
I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign.
That happens to me all the time.
I think everybody's I know I'm just sitting here just wow, there was so much good stuff to think about there. And something you said at the very end, just how all those seemingly hard things, at the very beginning ended up those are all such good memories for you. And it just reminded me of the call that we did last week with Eddie Villa, the strengths coach, and he talked about being able to do your business with joy. And what did he say? What was the other one?
Joy and results.
Yeah, joy. So I mean, you have joy written all over you. I see it. And I just love that you can look back on all those memories of the seemingly hard times and be like, those were the days. It just reminds me of being a mom, and my kids are all older, they're teenagers, and thinking back to when they were all little and it was so hard, but those were the days. I know exactly what you mean by that. So that is a really good insight to if you can express that to your people, to your builders, that right now you feel like you're in the hardest part of your building your business, but you're going to look back and think those were the times. So
and the things that you don't want to compromise on, which I did compromise on, in my network marketing company, my first one, they said, if you're a leader, you need to show up at these Tuesday night meetings. And Tuesday nights were the nights that Alicia was in gymnastics. And I did not go to one gymnastics meet because I said, I am doing this for the future. But man, I just wish I would have said, you know what, 1 time a month, I'm going to go to her gymnastics meter, something, I'm like an all or none. And it's really hard for me sometimes being that way. But I still bring it up to Lisa, I'm so sorry I wasn't there. And she's like, well, Mom, everything you did is so that I could do what I'm doing now. And it's really rewarding. And I was talking to Gabriella, my other daughter, because they're both, they both have college degrees and they both had their careers. And, I somehow, managed to get them over here. I think it was setting the intention, because I would go to things and I would see the Trumans, and I would see, Karina Salmons and her parents, the Bosses. And I would see all these really amazing families, and they were working together. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if that could ever be me, if that could ever be me with my girls, that would be just like a dream come true. And the dream has come true. And I see them able to like, Alicia is like different than Gabriella, and Alicia has, she has daycare a few days a week, and she goes out and does vendor events, and all that. She's very much like me in that way. And then Gabriella is like, but I want to be a mom, stay-at-home mom, and I'm going to go to these mommy groups, and I'm going to, meet other moms, and then we're going to talk about natural things, and it might lead to doTERRA and, whatever. So I just like have so much respect for both of them because they are choosing to live life on their terms. And I'm so grateful for doTERRA that, because I know a lot of their girlfriends have had to make really tough decisions, professional women that saw what was happening when they had the babies and saw that they couldn't be the mom that they wanted to be. And some of them have completely left their big careers in order to spend time with the kids. And then they're inside, they're like, what am I going to do after they go to school? All of that. So what's really awesome is, what doTERRA provides for young parents, not just moms, but, a lot of the women. And we have a lot of women in doTERRA, but it provides really something great for the whole family, because also for my daughter's husbands, it's such a wonderful thing that they have somebody else bringing money, resources into the family. And, it just kind of benefits everybody. I love it. I'm so happy that it all kind of worked. It's like setting that intention, and, it came true. And I love it.
I love that. Thank you so much, Betty. And thank you for sharing everything that you've shared. We'll go ahead and we'll end our call today, but thank you again for an amazing call. We cannot wait to see these last couple of weeks of Diamond Club with all of you guys mentors on this call. Just sharing and helping them continue on just from Diamond Club onto the rest of their doTERRA careers and become the amazing people that you guys have become. And just so that they can become the next mentors too, to their people as we continue these leadership programs. So thank you so much, everybody. We will talk to you guys all later. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to email diamondclub@doterra.com, and we're happy to pass them on to Betty. And have a wonderful day. Keep working hard, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.